All right, guys, we are back with another part of the chapters. This is chapter 4, picking up where we left off, learning about Ren's, life story of his health condition and everything else. Been pretty interesting so far. Definitely needed a good break there. Recorded a bunch of Big Push and some others, but we're going to dive back in and see how these go. I'm going to record some other stuff in between the chapters. I think that's the best course of action because 1, the stuff he's covering is pretty heavy. Plus 2, not as many people necessarily care to rewatch these as they like the other music and stuff. So it'll be a good mix to kind of, have one of these and then 2 or 3 days later, the next one, 2 or 3 days later, the next one, like that. I think that's the best way to kind of knock through them. So we will see. I'm a little groggy today, just be forewarned. So I don't know. Hopefully I get more animated as the video goes on because I'm just kind of like, this morning. But let's take a look at Ren Chapter 4.
Cool.
Sure, we'll have a song at the end too, like all of the others.
During the year I spent living back with my mum, I was leaning even more heavily into scouring the internet for answers. It became like an obsession. Most people my age were watching porn. I was on PubMed learning about mitochondria. I educated myself in things like methylation, the building blocks of mitochondria, various immune cells and their functionality, and which supplements could help theoretically bring about homeostasis in my body. I taught myself of the various pathogens that could lead to the symptoms I was experiencing. Around this time I started ordering medical test kits from private medical facilities. I had a Eureka moment when, after posting some poop in a tube to a lab in London, I discovered I had an amoeba and another more benign gastrointestinal parasite called blastohominis. Both could plausibly lead to systemic pain and fatigue. Upon researching the best course of action, I found this doctor in New York who was a world-renowned specialist in treating parasites. Return flights to New York, booked far enough in advance, were a couple of £100 back then. The treatment itself was pretty cheap. I was in no way in a strong financial position, and neither was my family, so I did what I always do when I needed to get money. I wrote and recorded some songs from my laptop from bed. One about getting to New York to find a cure. I sold a modest amount of digital copies to my Facebook friends and my friends and family, just enough to afford a trip. During this time, my symptoms had gotten a lot worse, so the entire visit was a bit of a blur. I remember sitting in a waiting room and struggling to find an inch of wall space that wasn't taken up by the countless medical qualifications and the diplomas attached to it. I half expected the walls to start bragging about their Ivy League connections and debating the latest medical research while those mere mortals waited to be called in. When I was finally on the doctor's table, I was told to take off my clothes and put on a blue disposable paper robe. An old man in his 80s hobbled in, pulled on a medical glove, and proceeded to cover his finger in Vaseline. My heart sunk. I was pretty sure I knew what was coming next. I suddenly wished I'd experimented more with my ex-girlfriend. I didn't want to lose my backdoor virginity like this. He could have at least done me the courtesy of putting on some Marvin Gaye and lighting some candles, but instead I lay in uncomfortable silence on a brightly exposed operating table, while a firm-handed, overqualified old man inserted his index finger forcefully into my anus. He never wrote to me afterwards. Felt used. Nonetheless, I was officially diagnosed with a parasitic amoeba and given a course of heavy-duty antibiotics to take. I believe it was paramomycin and secnidazole. After the course was finished, I pooped into a tube again, and they confirmed I got rid of the parasites. The constant internal techno-raves and gurgling which usually plagued my stomach ceased, but I felt just as crap. And on top of all of that, I started becoming allergic to everything. And I mean fucking everything. The antibiotics had triggered some sort of massive food intolerance reaction. Whenever I'd eat certain foods, I'd get hit with a sudden hangover-like feeling.
See, now that's making me wonder because I got a parasite while I was living in Mexico and took some extremely strong antiparasitics. I don't even know what they were because it was in Spanish, but it just destroyed my intestines for a few days. But it got rid of the parasite. But I remember when I got back home and met with my regular doctor, he was like, well, did they put you on any probiotic or anything afterwards? And I was like, no. He was like, oh, well, it's never too late, so you could go on a course of them, but, those medicines wipe out all your good bacteria and things too, not just the bad ones. So, but I had the same experience, man. I've developed more food allergies later in life. Having that happen in my early 20s, I developed multiple new allergies in my late 20s. So, wonder if there's some, tie into that.
And my face would swell up. I'd later learned this was something called MCAS, and it was triggered by the antibiotics. This was the first time I felt the crushing defeat of pinning a lot of money, hopes, and time into a treatment only for it to make me worse. I'd felt it to a small degree with every failed herbal protocol, every antidepressant that gave me side effects, but this was on a much larger scale. I almost felt guilty and full of shame for not getting better. I told my friends and family that this was going to be the thing that cured me. Not only did it fail, but I was now unable to tolerate basic carbohydrates, fruits, sugar, high histamine food, dairy, grains, without feeling terrible. I felt pretty crushed about that. Despite this, some tenacious part of me had a perseverance that didn't want to stop looking for answers. I was obsessed with trawling the internet. I strongly believe if I didn't have that tenacity to keep looking after every defeat, I'd probably be dead today. After about a year of living with my mum in North Wales, I got the itch, and I decided that I'd make a bold move to Brighton. Most days I didn't really have the energy to do much other than short walks, but I had a friend over there who lived with ME for years. It felt like a safe space, a place of understanding. Being a 23-year-old living with his mother didn't feel very cool either. He had a free room going, and he was a legend. I desperately craved my own independence. After going through the heartbreak of losing love and losing the exciting career opportunity, I needed to feel like I wasn't just sitting in the tomb in Wales waiting for death, even if it was a struggle. I made the move. It was a really nurturing space, and it was full of the lunatics of Brighton who would come and go. I was still living in a thick haze, but I was meeting people who weren't judging me for it. With this safety, I was slowly finding my personality again. Despite the comfortable environment, it seemed my symptoms were only getting worse. I started having pretty constant panic attacks. The first one felt like a heart attack. I'd never experienced a panic attack before, so I wasn't familiar with the symptoms. My whole face went numb, and my heart felt like it was about to beat out of my ribcage. I panicked and I phoned an ambulance. They put me in the back, they took all my vitals, and they told me I wasn't dying. I felt disappointed. These attacks would happen pretty habitually every week or so. My symptoms of derealization seemed ever increasing. Derealization is hard to describe to someone who's never experienced it. The closest thing I can come to is feeling like you're on bad drugs. You feel disconnected from yourself, like your soul has been vacuumed out of your body, and nothing around you quite feels real. Everything has an unusual undertone and nothing feels safe. I remember one night in the first year that I lived with Ben, there was this lightning storm of torrential rain. I went outside and I stood in a t-shirt hoping I'd be hit by a bolt of lightning and it would somehow shock me out of it. Unfortunately, I wasn't on Zeus's hit list that day. This urge to be shocked back into reality didn't really leave me. I remember one day I was walking back from the shops. I found an old analog television in an alleyway that was being thrown out. I can't quite remember the thought process that led me there. I just remember feeling angry, and I decided to smash the fucking pieces out of the TV in the alley. I picked it above my head and I hurled it towards the ground. The screen cracked, but it didn't shatter like I hoped it would. I did it again and again and again until there were large shards of glass lining the street. I saw one about the size of a kitchen knife and I picked it up. It's hard to rationally explain self-harm that's not a cry for help, because this wasn't a cry for help. I'd cried for help multiple times and no one listened. The pain I felt inside my body could never be done justice with words. There's a certain horror, a certain frustration of living in a body that would never give me a moment of peace. I felt constantly alienated. I had no doctors to tell me what was going on. They made me feel like a hypochondriac. There are no combination of words in the English language that can express that pain, that can express that frustration. There's no song I could write that would make you understand. In that moment, the closest and truest way I had of communicating my pain was driving a shard of glass into my chest and dragging it across until the blood was dripping down my body. It didn't hurt very much compared to what was already going on inside of me, and it didn't really help me feel better either, but it was truth, and there was beauty in that. Adrenaline gives you a brief moment of respite, but it wasn't long until I was exactly where I started, just decorated in a little bit more blood than usual. I made sure nobody saw. I didn't want to cause any alarm. I didn't want anyone to be worried. So I cleaned it up when I got home, and then I resumed the life of the undead. In the next episode, I'll tell you the story of when I was stabbed by an ancient sword and when I met one of the most talented people that I know.
I feel like a lot of people told me 4 was one of the hardest ones to watch, which is interesting because I don't know, maybe it's my psych background or something, but I mean, everything he described sounded perfectly rational for what he was going through to me. So it's not necessarily hard to watch from a sense. It's just, you know, you feel empathy for him and stuff, but I don't know, maybe it's because I haven't been, you know, trapped for years with illness. Like I said in previous ones, I've definitely had some long-standing battles with illnesses that have gone on most of my life, but for the most part, I'm able to just recover from them. I mean, not completely, but learn to live with them, I guess, is a better description. My allergies, my rampant allergies, especially to different foods and stuff, I just avoid those foods. I eat a very bland diet, makes it very hard to eat healthy. And then now as I'm getting older, pancreas ain't working as good as it used to. So I started having blood sugar issues, and that makes it even harder to eat healthy because literally I have to like drink a pop or eat a candy or something to get my blood sugar balanced out right sometimes. But I don't know. I just learned to live with it. But, you know, what he was going through obviously was a lot more intense, you know, not even having the energy to like move around the house or something. I mean, what do you do? You know, that would definitely feel like a prison. So it's just different. Let's see what we got for a song. Somebody told me in one of the other comments that all of these songs are from the time period he is talking about. That sounds accurate to me. I can't say for sure that's accurate, but that sounds accurate to me. So this would be really interesting because he was obviously in a very dark place if he was self-harming just to get a, you know, adrenaline release from that, to get the couple of seconds of relief that you get from the adrenaline push. Let's see.
I got tears on my sleeves, hold on, and holes in these jeans, hold on. I haven't slept in weeks, hold on. I haven't found no peace, hold on. I get mighty tired, hold on, and these tears run dry, hold on.
I don't know what the captions are. The captions are part of the video, not what I have on, but they're saying completely different things. I'm not sure to read or listen. This is weird.
Two bloodshot eyes, hold on. These tears run.
Yeah, that's part of the video.
I haven't slept in weeks, hold on. I haven't found no peace, hold on. I get mighty tired, hold on, and these tears run dry, hold on. Two bloodshot eyes, hold on. Two bloodshot eyes. I don't belong here, in a place where life has left me. I'm 25 going on 150. My body feels old and I'm trying to lift the weight from my soul, but it's moving against me. I've emptied out my theodox, I lift my middle finger up, I'm screaming fuck you to all the demons here that keep me stuck. The pain is sharp like paper cuts, I hate too much, but yes I trust. I must combust, I must blow up, I must roll this courage up. Boom, sparks fill the room, I'm feeling the rhythm I move. My soul is more worn than the soles in my shoes. Nike trainer blues, a man with none to lose. I think I lost my sanity, calamity in shoes. Poor choice maker, I rip out the pages of fate, then I roll them up like bizzle of paper. Taker, lung full of destiny, a man with no part, it's a very strange entity. Tears on my sleeves, hold on, and holes in these jeans, hold on. I haven't slept in weeks, hold on. I haven't found no peace, hold on. I get mighty tired, hold on, and these tears run dry, hold on. Two bloodshot eyes, hold on, two bloodshot eyes. Do you ever question your fate? The questions I make, is this all predetermined, the script or a play? Am I the protagonist in this tragedy, or will I be the author of stories unmade? If so, I'll dip in my quill to my ink pot, keep on writing, never stop until my beating heart it flops. I'll write a whole different story. Scene one, a boy full of hope, a boy full of glory. Who stutters, I'm under the top. Would rather be tougher and live it smoothly like butter, but not so bitter and cut up. And so I sit up and shut up, it's like I lit up and struck up the courage never to fuck up. And now I'm feeling the ruckus, feeling the static, and now I'm feeling the flames, and now I'm feeling the strength inside the ring with my pain. My boxing gloves and my hope that I trust to bust an uppercut, cut my demons up. What? Boom like a tsunami, smooth like a punani, bend the words like origami, Salvador, I be the Dali. Only love like Bob Marley, golden ticket, call me Charlie, riding Harley's Bengali, Tiger Star, call me Arnie. I'll be back. And I cut the slack, track your facts, relax, shit in the beast, and then seek it in the peace. And I'll reach the canopies, and yes we climbing, building a brave new world inside a whole new designing. With all this fire we burn like the sun, a new dawn is rising, a new dawn it comes. Yeah, diggity diggity down with all this corporation, they burn up the land for the greed that they run runs deep with the roots, but the roots can be lifted. I'll be your renegade, yes, I'll make a fist kin. Try to seek truth in the kingdom of lies. A boy so lost with two bloodshot eyes. Tears on my sleeves, hold on. And holes in these jeans, hold on. I haven't slept in weeks, hold on. I haven't found no peace, hold on. I get mighty tired, hold on. And these tears run dry, hold on. Two bloodshot eyes, hold on. Two bloodshot eyes. Ha, ha, ha. Hold on. Hold on. Ha, ha, ha. Hold on. Hold on. Two bloodshot eyes. Hold on. Hold on. Two bloodshot eyes.
I really like this song.
Woo.
Yeah, it was a pretty dope song for the end of that video. Makes a lot of sense. Pretty cool. Another interesting part of the story, learning a little more backstory about his medical struggle and the point he was at, and a really dope song for the end. Reminded me of like G-Love and Special Sauce, if y'all ever listened to that. I don't know if their sound made it overseas much, but I seen them a couple times. I saw them once opening for Jack Johnson, and then another time on their own with, I think, Ben Harper. Someone else. I don't know. I've been to a lot of concerts in my day. So definitely kind of my vibe of music. I like that. I like that kind of, almost like jazzy acoustic guitar, hip hop mashup mix. Super cool. Super cool. Related well to the story he was telling. So very cool. I dug it. Good song to end the video, and we'll keep going down the chapters. Luckily, that one didn't hit me too hard emotionally, so I shouldn't have much problem going on to chapter 5. The first few of the chapters were pretty rough. This one, not quite as much. I don't know. This one to me seemed more like intellectual than emotional, even though he talked, about getting to the point of self-harm and stuff like that. But the way he told the story was so fact-based and intellectual-based that it didn't trigger as many of those empathy triggers, I guess, to make me feel really sad and disheartened by the end of it, which I guess is a good thing. If you enjoyed this video, drop a comment, leave a like. We would appreciate it much. Thank you so much to my supporters here on the screen, top commenters for the month, top donators, and our channel members. If you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a channel member. Starts as low as 99 cents. You can also donate through the YouTube tips or directly to me through PayPal. If you want to help support for free, drop a comment. Every video doesn't have to be a long novel unless you want to write one. Could be just a emoji, thumbs up, hearts, something like that. Really helps out, helps boost it with the algorithm. Shout out to our new top donor who sent me a nice donation via PayPal. Drop me a comment so I know who you are. You mentioned having me check out a playlist, but I don't know if PayPal took it out or what, but it didn't give me any link or anything in your message. So just like, hey, I got a playlist you should check out. That's all I got. So I don't know if you wrote some more and it cut it out, but drop me a comment, share that playlist so I can check it out. But thank you to all the supporters. Otherwise, guys, hope you're having a great day. I really, really do. Let's get back to work. Keep praying. I'll see you in the next one.